What's happening right now is that the ideological cranks are starting to turn in DC and in Wall Street. And I think that they're panicking. They're panicking because Kamala Harris is getting her money from grassroots people. Tim Walz passed a bunch of legislation when he had power that, if it gets passed nationally, will be very, very, very good for the Democratic Party and for a long-term damaging to the Republicans. It will restore a lot of people's faith that actually government can do shit, making the Republican Party's entire reason to be unintelligible to regular people. The Shapiro speech was charismatic. I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you there, but it's okay. My mom, who's a bi-only gal, cry from happiness because your mom watches MSNBC probably. And Harris needs to whip them into shape. I think Harris should go on Morning Joe. I think she should absolutely be turning the screws on MSNBC as hard as she can. Your friend is a radwood, which is, not good.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good.
Would you consider and
Good evening. Oh, it is good to be back in Pennsylvania. So let me say, on behalf of myself and the first, second gentleman of the United States, my husband, Doug Emhoff, thank you for the warm welcome. And let me just say, it's good to be here with all of the friends, all of the leaders who are here. I want to thank former Governor Ed Rendell, Senator Bob Casey, who we will re-elect this November, Senator John Fetterman.
Did you guys? Oh my God. If somebody could find this for me, I didn't save it. Fuck. But I saw it. I laughed out loud. Was when Shapiro was announced to give his speech and everybody around him was standing up and applauding, and Fetterman was just staying seated, staring ahead like this. Like, didn't even applaud Shapiro's speech. He was like, "Tell Shapiro it was me." Oh, here it is. Okay. One of my favorite chatters messaged it to me, chat. Fetterman's reaction when the governor speaks versus what his AIPAC boss Netanyahu does is quite telling. I'm sorry, man, but they're the same guy. Listen, this is Fetterman, being honest that he hates Shapiro is likable. If he always Mayor
Sherelle Parker and Chairman Jamie Harrison, and it is so
is Jamie Harrison crying?
To be here with your incredible governor, Josh Shapiro.
Now, here's the thing to keep in mind, Chad. Why am I so pro Walz as compared to other people? Anybody who goes to China 30 times has got my attention. That's all I can say. Anybody who goes to China 30 times and then says, I don't think we should be enemies of China, that is the number one issue of our day. Is how is the person a xenophobic freak trying to make us go into a Cold War II? And if they go into Cold War II, you know what comes with a Cold War? Red Scare. So if you are a socialist and you're in America and you have an ounce of self-preservation, you need to be fighting against a Cold War with China. If you think that that's not true, you didn't read any history. Go at least watch Oppenheimer then. Go, do some, minimum amount of fucking history, please. Please. So, right off the bat, the fact that he is not a freak against China is a huge green flag.
And I will say, Josh is a dear, dear friend and an extraordinary leader. He and I have been spending a lot of time together over the years. And I told Josh, look, I am so invested in our friendship in doing this together because together with Josh Shapiro, we will win Pennsylvania. We will win Pennsylvania. And I thank you, Josh. I thank you. So Philadelphia, I launched my campaign for the President of the United States a mere 2 weeks ago. And it's been a bit of a whirlwind. And just last night, the delegates to the Democratic National Convention finished voting. And so the Democratic nominee for President of the United States. And so now we got some work to do. We need to move to the general election and win that. And to all the friends, listen, we also need to level set. We are the underdogs in this race. But we have the momentum, and I know exactly what we are up against. Now, many of you know, before I was elected vice president or elected a United States senator, I was an elected attorney general, and before that, elected district attorney. And before that, I was a courtroom prosecutor. So in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Who abused women, fraudsters fraudsters who scammed consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, our campaign is not just a fight against Donald Trump. Our campaign, this campaign, is a fight for the future. It's a fight for the future. In Pennsylvania, we fight for a future with affordable housing, affordable health care, affordable child care, paid leave. We fight for a future where we build a broad-based economy, where every American has the opportunity to own a home, to start a business, and to build wealth. We fight for a future where we bring down prices that are still too high and lower the cost of living for America's families. So that they have a chance not just to get by, but to get ahead. We fight for a future where we defend our most fundamental freedoms. The freedom to vote. The freedom to be safe from gun violence. The freedom to love who you love openly and with pride. To make decisions about her own body, not having her government tell her what to do. So, I love you too. So here's the thing. Since the day that I announced my candidacy, I set out to find a partner who can help build this brighter future. A leader who will help unite our nation and move us forward. A fighter for the middle class. A patriot who believes, as I do, in the extraordinary promise of America. Opportunity and justice, not just for some, but for all. So, Pennsylvania, I'm here today because I found such a leader. Governor Tim Walz of the great state of Minnesota. To those who know him best, Tim is more than a governor. To his wife, Gwen, he is a husband. To his kids, Hope and Gus, he is a dad. To his fellow veterans, he is Sergeant Major Walz. To the people of southern Minnesota, for 12 years, he was congressman. To his former high school students, he was Mr. Walz. And to his former high school football players, he was coach.
I think one of the things that is really underestimated about this is how your vibes are. And I do think that in 2016 and to a lesser extent 2020, the vibes were about being pissed off. Now I think the vibes are people are tired of bad vibes and they want good vibes again. And Joe Biden was bad vibes. Donald Trump is horrendous vibes. So just from a normie perspective, good vibes are going to carry you a long way.
And in 91 days, the nation will know Coach Walz by another name, Vice President of the United States. Some folks, they're just getting to know Coach Walz's story. And I'll tell you, he is the proud product of a middle-class family in rural Nebraska. He is a veteran who served our nation in uniform for more than 2 decades as a member of the Army National Guard, and he went to college on the GI Bill. He is someone who, long before he entered politics, worked as a teacher. When Coach Walz and his wife Gwen moved from his native Nebraska to Minnesota nearly 30 years ago, they both took jobs at the local high school. Coach Walz taught social studies, Gwen taught English. After school, Tim was the linebackers coach for the football team. Where I've heard the stories about he had a knack for using the game of football to teach life lessons. He saw the potential in kids who sometimes didn't even see it in themselves. Under those Friday night lights, Coach Walz motivated his players to believe they could achieve anything. And together, they defied the odds, hear this out, going from a winless record to the school's first ever state championship.
Now the thing about Tim is you're going to see something that I want you to recognize and understand. It doesn't matter that he's got a flawless resume. It doesn't matter that he's a really nice guy. This is politics. And the Republicans are going to run directly at his strength because they learned in 2004 the Swift boat model. So if you're going to sit back there and expect just because he's a good guy, everybody who knows him loves him and all that, you should be aware that the Republicans are going to lie and they're going to throw mud and they're scum of the earth. So be prepared. Yeah, we read that in the Max studio already. And we know about his no stocks. We already covered that. You're late. We've been live for an hour.
And I'll say and I'll add, Tim wasn't only a role model on the football field. Around that same time, Coach Walz was approached by a student in his social studies class. The young man was one of the first openly gay students at the school and was hoping to start a gay-straight alliance. At a time when acceptance was difficult to find for LGBTQ students, Tim knew the signal that it would send to have a football coach get involved. And as students have said, he made this school a safe place for everybody. In the high school yearbook, the students voted Coach Walz the, quote, most inspiring faculty member. And as I think everyone here can see, Tim Walz was the kind of teacher and mentor that every child in America dreams of having, and that every kid deserves. The kind of coach, because he's the kind of person who makes people feel like they belong and then inspires them to dream big. And that's the kind of vice president he will be. And that's the kind of vice president America deserves. So it was Coach Walz's students who actually helped him decide to run for office. And he served 12 years in Congress, representing a purple district as he reached across the aisle to get things done. He was the highest ranking.
Bipartisanship, no cheers. Bipartisanship, room dead, energy dies. Bipartisanship. See, the thing about bipartisanship, the reason why politicians think it's popular, because it's popular in the country club. It's popular at the cocktail party. It's popular at the elite level because elites like bipartisanship because bipartisanship means stability. Stability means they keep their status. They want it to be, it's like watching a football game, right? Like, sure, the teams may play hard on the field, but after the game, they all go out together to the club because they are professional athletes. They're on the same team, not the Bengals or the 49ers, but the NFL Players Association, the only team that matters. And they want to make money and they want celebrity. Okay? So they may be playing against each other, but they're not really against each other. They're part of a choreographed game. That's how the elites want it to be. They don't want you legitimately to be but for you and me, with the Republicans gain power, that's a deathly threat. For millions of Americans, you might die because a Republican wins. So when you hear bipartisanship, that makes you fucking pucker. But libs and donors especially love to hear bipartisan because that means that they don't have to worry about anything happening. Everything's just going to, the scam and the racket's going to continue on. So as I've said it, I'll say it a million times. Whenever you hear the term bipartisanship, hold your fucking wallet because they're trying to pick your pocket.
enlisted
Collect,
men
build,
to
display.
ever
Thank you.
serve in the
It is
United
6 months
States
in advance.
Congress.
Yeah, we know about the no stock. We talked about it already.
And the top Democrat on the Veterans Committee. And he was known as one of Capitol Hill's best marksmen, winning a bipartisan sharpshooting contest year after year. In Washington, Tim worked to raise the minimum wage, to protect the freedom of workers to join a union, and he cast one of the critical votes to pass the Affordable Care Act. Which, of course, gave health insurance to tens of millions of Americans. I'm going to tell you, when we win, Tim and I will continue to make the Affordable Care Act even stronger. We will win. On the other side. So on that last topic, if Donald Trump gets the chance, he will end the Affordable Care Act and take us back to a time when insurance companies had the power to deny people with pre-existing conditions. You remember what that was like? Children with asthma, breast cancer survivors, grandparents with diabetes. Well, Governor Walz and I will not let that happen. Because we believe health care should be a right and not just a privilege for those who can afford it.
Yeah, she was saying that if Walz was taking the shot, Trump wouldn't be here. And she's right. He wouldn't. And yeah, she said healthcare is a right. And you know, listen, like if you're expecting her to go through some sort of like white paper of policy, analysis, you're crazy. Okay, we know what policies they support. Go look at what Minnesota passed when Tim Walz was governor. Do you like those policies? Are those good policies? Do you want those policies? She picked someone who has a political record of passing policies over If she had picked Bashir, that's why I didn't like Bashir, chat, because he didn't have a fucking record. And he's a silver spoon baby from the South. That would have been a very bad choice. I would have felt like, oh, okay, she's not serious about passing anything. She picked the person who had the most legislative record. That is a good signal. You should receive the signal in your fucking brain.
Governor Tim has continued to fight for working families. He secured paid leave for workers in Minnesota. And he refused, as governor, to allow any student in their public schools to go hungry. So he made school breakfast and lunch free for every child. And Tim Walz and I, we agree about many things, including when our middle class is strong, America is strong. And strengthening the middle class will be my defining goal as I am President of the United States.
We'll DNC still be a shit show at Chicago? I think it'll be much less of a shit show, but my concern, quite frankly, is what's going on in the Middle East. And right now, things are escalating. I haven't covered it as much lately because, everything we said came true. What do you want me to say? Like, you want me to just say, like, how many times can I look at the same war crimes and say, yep, I was right about that. I was right back in October of last year. Like, what more do you want me to say about Gaza? Like, that I haven't already said? You know, like, I gave $10,000 to Gazan charities. Like, I've talked about it for months and months and months on end. Every prediction and projection I've said came true. I've advocated as hard as I can and will continue to do so. But, like, what else is there to say?
So Pennsylvania, ours is a fight for the future of the middle class, and it is a fight for freedom. In this moment, we are witnessing a full-on attack against hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights. Take reproductive freedom. Now think about this. Donald Trump said he wants to punish women. And as a result of his actions, today in America, 1 out of 3 women live in a state with a Trump abortion ban. 1 out of 3. Some of these bans go back to
Average Shapiro supporter. Oh, I remember you. We need to start befriending neo-Nazis. I guess you can't be a Democratic presidential ticket and also a Jew in 2024. You know what? Pathetic. Her wife is a Jew. She's literally married to a Jew. And they're still trying this shit. If somebody calls you an anti-Semite at this point in our history, 9 times out of 10, it's because you don't like children being murdered.
To the 1800s, even before women had a right to vote. Think about that. Well, Tim and I have a message for Trump and others who want to turn back the clock on our fundamental freedoms. We're not going back. About Tim Walz, he has shown up to stand against these attacks long before he stood on the stage with me. After Roe was overturned, he was the first governor in the country to sign a new law that enshrined reproductive freedom as a fundamental right.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why I am more optimistic than you're probably surprised to hear that I'm actually more optimistic than many other commentators. A lot of commentators are going to do this thing where they're going to be like, do you think this is a good pick? Well, you're a lib for thinking it's a good pick. And everybody knows nothing is going to change. Smug face. Those people are dumb as fuck. And they don't understand what the fuck they're talking about. And legitimately are stupid. I want to give you an example. Let's just pause this video for a second. I want to show you an example of a very dumb person who's a very dumb fuck. But you see this type of posts all the time. You're going to see this type of post a lot. This is what a dumb fuck looks like. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. If this is you, we're going to have a conversation. I'm sorry it's going to be 4 minutes of a dumb fuck talking. I'll probably stop and then quit watching at a certain point. But I want you to understand. Did Israel just pick Kamala's VP? Okay. Are you ready? This is what a dumb fucking piece of shit looks like. Okay. Are you ready? Let's go.
And once again, some way, somehow, Israel gets the candidate that they want. And I can imagine you might be saying right now, James, what the hell are you talking about? Well, in case you missed it, yesterday I made this video talking about how I was noticing a very odd smear campaign happening against Josh Shapiro, who up until this past weekend, or up until pretty much today, was Kamala's frontrunner to be her VP pick. I basically said that Josh Shapiro is actually the candidate that Netanyahu wants the least, even though he is definitely pro-Israel and he's a devout Jew. He has also been very critical of the Netanyahu government, calling him one of the worst leaders of all time. Now, for some odd reason, the weekend before Kamala Harris was set to announce her VP pick, a slew of negative articles started coming out about Josh Shapiro from both conservative and liberal mainstream news. Fox ran this headline saying that John Fetterman of Pennsylvania was skeptical of Harris picking Shapiro. CNN pondered aloud about whether some Jewish Democrats wonder if America is ready for a Jewish vice president. The New York Times ran a play.
By the way, okay, so I let this guy talk, and I hope, listen, chat, if some of what this guy is making sense, if you're finding this persuasive, I need you to stop what you're doing, and I want you to understand that you're not very good at this. Okay? If you're watching this and you're thinking it makes sense, you're not very good at critical thinking. Okay? You're getting an F today. All right? And if you're offended by me saying that, I want you to understand I'm saying that so that you have like a moment. Okay? I am intellectually giving you a slap on the face. All right? I'm telling you, F. If I found a chatter of mine thought like this, it would be mortifying. It would be humiliating. Okay? So, why is this dumb as fuck? Him saying Netanyahu is a bad leader doesn't mean anything! That's not Josh Shapiro saying he doesn't like Netanyahu. There's plenty of Israelis who don't like Netanyahu. It doesn't matter. That is not a criticism of Israel or their policy, you dumb piece of shit. It doesn't mean anything. Some Jewish Democrats wonder if America's ready for a Jewish vice president. It isn't a hit piece. It's an attempt to pressure Kamala Harris into picking Josh Shapiro out of fear she's going to be called an anti-Semite. This is the opposite of what he's saying. Now, I don't know if he's just dumb as fuck and he thinks this is actually people saying, we shouldn't pick a Jew, or what. He's dumb, okay? You're stupid. What was the other thing he brought up? Fetterman skeptical of picking Josh Shapiro. Fetterman doesn't like Josh Shapiro for personal, political, ambition reasons. He sees Josh Shapiro as the establishment pick. He sees Josh Shapiro as a conservative fucker who's evil. Now, I think John Fetterman is a piece of shit for his Israeli position. I think his Israeli position is a sellout. I think his Israeli position is wrong. I think his brain got damaged by the stroke and he's fucking stupid and he's annoying. But he's not attacking Josh Shapiro because he criticized Israel or something, because Josh Shapiro didn't criticize Israel, you dumb piece of shit. He hates him because he tried to keep 2 innocent men in prison. So Josh Shapiro tried to keep 2 innocent men in prison for his own political fucking career. That is deplorable. And Fetterman doesn't like him. Now, obviously, there's also personal ambition. Fetterman wants to be seen as the up-and-coming Democrat in Pennsylvania, and I don't like Fetterbitch, but he's right about this. All right. Moving on. God, you're dumb. Shapiro, okay, so here we go.
Some Jewish Democrats wonder if America is ready for a Jewish vice president. The New York Times ran a play from the Me Too playbook saying that Shapiro is facing scrutiny over sexual harassment complaints against his aide. Not even him, his aide.
If you cover up sexual harassment complaints, that's just as bad, you stupid piece of shit, which is what he was criticized for. Creating a climate where people were being sexually harassed left and right by this fucking goon and not having people, and the person had to quit. They forced her to quit. Shut the fuck up. You never even read the article, you dumb headline surfing moron. Again, as I'm saying, if you're this poor person, you are stupid.
Article after article after article.
Oh man, look at all the articles showing what a bad pick he would be. Look at all these articles vetting him. That's good, dummy. Now, is he saying that Jews control the media? Is he doing an anti-Semitism when saying, because Shapiro didn't get picked, Jews control the media, and therefore Israel didn't want him to be picked? How come every single Israeli supporter is fucking melting down then, you dumbass?
It's like, what the heck is going on? And you could see the impact in the Vegas betting odds. This was before...
Like, legitimately, like, this is one of those posts that makes me want to go on TikTok and just rip these fucking morons apart. He's dumb as fuck. He's legitimately dumb as fuck. Again, if you saw this and you liked it on TikTok or you thought it was smart, I want you to slap yourself across the face in Minecraft and go, wow, my brain no work good.
The weekend, Josh Shapiro, clearly the favorite. And by Monday, Tim Walz was the favorite. And of course, he was the one who was ultimately chosen. Was that sequence...
What was the point of that entire section? It means nothing. You're stupid. Shut up.
Of events a coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. But what I could tell you for sure is that there's actually historical precedent for pro-Israel lobby groups to do this exact thing to a candidate like Shapiro.
Oh, please tell me, what is... You're comparing him to somebody who actually criticizes Israel, you fucking dumbass! Yes, you fucking dumbass! Andy Levin is not the same as Josh Shapiro, you piece of shit!
2 years ago, AIPAC spent over $4 million taking out Andy Levin, the most progressive Jewish representative. I was putting quotations around progressive because by progressive, they meant Levin was a self-proclaimed Zionist, a former synagogue president, and a scion of a prominent Jew.
What? Yes, he was a liberal Zionist, but he believed in J Street, which, if you don't understand, and J Street has largely become buck-broken by AIPAC. It was a strategy for liberal Zionism, and liberal Zionism has died out. Andy Levin was a liberal Zionist. What are you talking about?
Jewish political dynasty. But he also said that AIPAC can't stand the idea that I am the clearest, strongest Jewish voice in Congress standing for a simple proposition that there is no way to have a secure democratic homeland for the Jewish people unless we achieve the political and human rights of the Palestinian people. And that's, I think, exactly what happened to Shapiro. But don't...
Based on nothing, but okay.
Take it from me. I'm just some guy. Take it from Haviv Gur. He writes for the Times of Israel, and he's about to break down U.S.
Oh, this ought to be good.
Domestic politics from an Israeli perspective. He says, I've now spoken to 3 Jews prominently involved in politics in America, and they all basically said the same thing. By skipping over Shapiro, Harris gets to make a show of catering to the anti-Israel camp while actually choosing a candidate who has been less critical of Israel's government than Shapiro.
That's wrong. That's bullshit. That's actually bullshit. And I will say this. I don't think that Walz has been incredibly supportive of criticizing Israel, but his orientation toward the left has been way more friendly. This is just Zionist cope. This is Zionist wish casting. Again and again, I heard or read that a Jewish VP with ties to Israel would approve the Friday of the administration identitarian cover to ward off criticism of policies deemed foolish or outright dangerous for Israel. So in other words, they're saying, we're going to call her an anti-Semite. It's a very good thing they didn't pick Shapiro. You are a fucking dumbass.
Shapiro, they say, another pro-Israel, pro-Zionist journalist, said the same thing in the National Review. But no matter how much hostility she exhibited towards Israel, she would dispatch Shapiro to dutifully spin the policies to Jewish and pro-Israel audiences.
Okay, this is one of the dumbest, legitimately one of the dumbest posters I've ever seen in my entire life. This is legitimately, if you're this guy and you ever encounter my analysis, I want you to stop posting. Like, you're legitimately one of the dumbest people I've ever seen in my life. Like, legitimately stupid. Like, I think it's terminal. Like, I don't think it can be helped. This is right-winger spin. They're mad that it's not Josh Shapiro, because her picking Josh Shapiro would have signaled that she is not going to change any policies with Joe Biden. By picking Walz, somebody who is openly known to be more friendly toward the uncommitted vote and toward people like Ilhan Omar, she's signaling that she's going to put pressure on Netanyahu and it's going to represent a change. Now, is she actually going to? We have to wait and see. We're socialists. We don't get bowled over by just signaling. We require actual evidence. Picking Shapiro would have and then, by the way, the National Review, if she had picked Shapiro, would have immediately gone on the offense talking about the case of the murder cover-up and the sexual harassment, and it would have inflamed as many of the pro-Palestinian protesters as they could. You're a baby with a baby brain.
She would let pro-Hamas mobs run amok in cities and on college campuses, and Democrats would trot out social media posts of the Shapiro family Seder, of their Purim costumes, or of Sukkah on the grounds of the vice president's residence.
Do you understand that Harris is married to a Jew and they're going to do all those things except at her house, you dumbass? You understand that her husband's a fucking Jew. So she's going to do all those same things, you dumb piece of shit. What the fuck are you talking about?
Pro-Israel Jews would have gotten symbolism, while anti-Israel Democrats would have gotten policy victories. I keep saying this over and over again. Hardline Zionists, they do not care about Jewish lives. They care about the settler.
This guy is an op to try to get you to do dumbass shit if you're anti-Zionist. Like, he's legitimately dumber than dirt. Maybe one of the dumbest people I've ever seen in my life. This is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. Legitimately caused me brain damage when I heard that. I just want to make you very clear. Don't play three-dimensional chess, okay? Every time you try to play three-dimensional chess, the only person you own is yourself. The board is played on a two-dimensional 64-square board. There isn't some magic. If somebody's doing something and it looks like it's bad on the two-dimensional axis, it's bad. If they do something and it looks good on the two-dimensional axis, it's good. Stop playing three-dimensional chess. This isn't some super secret pro-Zionist move, all right? This isn't some sort of masterful gambit. They pick somebody who is more left-wing. It's that fucking simple.
And with Tim Walz by my side when I am President of the United States and we win majorities in the United States Congress, we will pass a bill to restore reproductive freedom, and I will proudly sign it into law. Tim Walz has also defended the sacred freedom to vote. As governor, he signed the most significant expansion of voting rights in Minnesota in over 50 years.
Iran nuclear deal negotiator Phil Gordon is Kamala's national security advisor. More recently, he suggested Iran sanctions bad. Yes, I'm coping. I don't think you're coping.
And with Governor Walz's help,
Joe Biden largely continued most of Donald Trump's foreign policy. And it's been disastrous. The number one thing that we could do to fix the immigration issue at our border would be to lift sanctions on Cuba and Venezuela completely. If you lift sanctions on Cuba and Venezuela completely, and their economies recover, people will return home. We can end the temporary protected status for Gusanos, and they could be sent back. That would be a massive win.
I am president, we are going to finally pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. We're going to get
Venezuela economy not recovering under Maduro, but agreed sanctions. Okay, I'm not gonna. Okay, listen. You've said something that would normally trigger me to ban you or insult you. I want you, when you're in my chat, to be a little bit more circumspect when you post things. Because the sanctions against Venezuela are what crashed the economy. The economy was in a bad recession prior to the sanctions introduced under the Trump administration. But it was the sanctions that destroyed the Venezuelan economy under Trump. If you would like to learn more, on Majority Report yesterday, or the day before, they had a Venezuelan, a reporter came in and talked from Venezuela. Okay, you don't know what you're talking about. You're wrong, and they are targeting Venezuela because they want their oil privatized into American companies. That's it. All right, that's it.
So Tim is a hunter. And
I'm a Venezuelan and a lefty. I know what I'm talking about. You speak English, and you're in my chat telling me that sanctions are actually being lifted wouldn't help the Venezuelan economy. I want you to not say you're a lefty again.
gun owner.
I think, hold on. That's strike 2. You know baseball, right?
Hello, my name is Hans Heinrich Himmler Goebbels Villalobos III Smith. We moved the Smith to the end recently because English names are more prestigious nowadays. I am an everyday, normal Latin American person from Latin American country X, or perhaps even Latin American country Y. I am an authentic representation of the opinions of my people. Mine people yearn for freedom. We are ruled by a terrible, awful dictator. India. He's ruining our country. You see, in the past, our country was rich and prosperous for all the right people. But now everything is simply pure chaos. He even took my father's slaves, enthusiastic and loyal workers, I mean. These days, a normal family like mine can only afford 3 live-in maids and 2 mayordomos. They've simply taxed us too much and are stealing all of our money. The economy is in free fall due to the terrible management of these disgusting, inferior, socialist, communist, narco-traffickers. One moment, please. That's the stuff. It's actually gotten so bad that my friend Hilda told me that there was an Indian child in her private German school. Ugh, they're simply being handed things they did nothing to earn. Why, recently an Indian family even moved into our street. And thanks to this terrible government, we can barely even afford the barbed wire that we need to keep our house safe from them. I mean, what's next? Are they going to seize our 5,000 acres of land? Which were, of course, earned fair and square by my esteemed grandfather, Hans Villalobos Heinrich Himmler Hitler, not a Nazi, the first. We simply have no idea what these madmen will do next. And I assure you that everyone else in my beloved homeland, Latin American country X, feels the same way. Please, Mr. President of the glorious United States of America, come to our aid. Heed our call, for I represent the authentic voice of our people. If you don't send in the troops soon, Indians might even be able to go on holiday to Florida. Imagine Indians in Disney World. Disney World is no place for servants. Nein! It simply cannot be allowed to pass. Send in the troops at once, Mr. President. I, Hans Himmler Goebbels Villalobos III Smith, the official president of Latin American country X, hereby officially proclaim that the people of our Lebensraum yearn for freedom. Give it to us. Give it to us now!
Now, you know, obviously, I'm not personally a big fan of Maduro, but The reality is that if you have a country that's been horrifically sanctioned for 20 years with multiple attempted coups, to go, they're mismanaging the economy is very fascinating. And I've always said this, Chavez, his problem was he thought that he could flick the nose of the Americans. And he learned that we are really, really evil and we will kill you. You disqualified my opinion so easily, putting my words in my mouth that I haven't said. I substantively argued against you, and then I made a joke because somebody coming into left wing. You're acting like a CIA agent. Maybe you aren't, and you're just posting from Colombia. But let me just say, you're acting like a CIA agent doing psyop work. You're acting exactly like the CIA would want you to, which is very interesting. You're coming into the chat to say, oh, no, it's not the sanctions, even though objectively it's the sanctions. Now, you could say Maduro mismanaged things and that there was corruption, and all of that is true. But 91% crashing in imports is not mismanagement. It is not corruption. It is being cut off from the global financial system by the Trump administration. It is preventing them from exporting oil to the refineries in America, the only refineries that can reprocess the sour crude that is the vast majority of Venezuelan resources. Okay? Like, we've seized literally billions of dollars of Venezuelan wealth that was in America. Venezuela was sabotaged by the United States, was sanctioned by the United States. This is objectively a fact. Now, is some of that to blame? Is Maduro rigging the election? I don't know. I wasn't there. I've heard things that lead me to believe that the elections weren't fair, which I'm not in favor of. But when you're talking about Venezuela, what the United States should do is lift the sanctions and deport all Venezuelan right-wingers. That's what our policy should be toward Venezuela. And end all aid for coup efforts that are taking place in the country. That is what our policies should be. I said lifting sanctions would be smart, but that the economy would get all right under Maduro, and you're saying I'm a CIA, because that doesn't make sense, man. That doesn't make sense. All right, moving on. CIA agent defeated.
As the majority of gun owners do, that we need reasonable gun safety laws in America. So as governor, he expanded background checks and increased penalties for illegal firearm sales. Together, when we win in November, we are finally going to pass universal background checks, red flag laws, and an assault weapons ban. Through his work, Tim, the way I think about it, he really does shine a light on a brighter future that we can build together. In his state, he has been a model chief executive, and with his experience, I'm telling you, Tim Walz will be ready on day one. In fact, when you compare his resume shall we, to Trump's running mate, well, Squad. So, Pennsylvania. Ultimately, in this election, we each face...
And by the way, like, I have no problem with that kind of joke. I know that some people think it's cringe, but at you know, if you think that's cringe, you're way too sensitive to cringe. You may be a teenager. That's not cringe. That's a funny joke. He's a coach. JD is in the JV. JV Vance is a good turn of phrase. It's funny. Get over yourself, teenagers.
Question. What kind of country do we want to live in? A country of freedom, compassion.
Oh, and by the way, chat, there's like obviously new chatters here, and I just want to say, if you support NATO or you support interventionism by the United States, you're not welcome here. If you need somebody to be like gentle and kind to you, I'd rather you just not be here altogether. Just leave. You can go watch Hassan, and he can take that when he convinces you that those organizations are bad in 5 years, then you can come back. But I'm not going to be I'm not the nice guy. I'm assuming that you're not stupid here. For my own mental health, this is the not stupid chat. So if you are a dummy, but you would like to learn and from a position of humility, you're welcome. If you're here with a bunch of ideological commitments to American hegemony, then you're not welcome. What if I need advice on how to dispose of bare bodies at parks? Fucking RFK Jr., how'd you get in here?
And rule of law, or a country of chaos, fear, and hate. And here's the beauty of our democracy. We each have the power to answer that question. We each have the power to answer that question. The power is with the people.
And by the way, chat, like, I personally think that if somebody is trying to induce you to do stuff like intervene in Venezuela, that you should interpret that as a personal physical threat against yourself, and you should engage in reasonable self-defense for the person trying to induce you to get into wars for Venezuela, or wars against Venezuela or Cuba or Taiwan or anything like that. All those people, you should just consider them making a lethal threat against you. Reasonable self-defense is justified in that case.
And I believe it is the highest form of patriotism to fight for the ideals of our country. That is how we preserve the promise of America. And after all, you know, the promise of America is what makes it possible for two middle-class kids, one a daughter of Oakland, California, who was raised by a working mother, the other a son of the Nebraska plains who grew up working on a farm. It's the promise of America, because only in America is it possible for them together to make it all the way to the White House.
I'm sorry, chat. Whenever I see a CIA agent, I just think that I want them to know that I hate you. And if I encountered you, it would be a fun time for both of us. So just fuck off. I really don't like you. In fact, for my own mental health, where the fuck is this rat? This Gasano fuck. Get the fuck out of here. imagine coming into an American political stream chat and being like, yeah, the sanctions wouldn't matter. What the fuck? The fuck out of here. Ruined my mood.
That's right. And so Coach Walz and I may hail from different corners of our great country, but our values are the same. And we both believe in lifting people up, not knocking them down. He and I, we both know the vast majority of people in our country have so much more in common than what separates them. When we look at folks, we see in our fellow Americans neighbors, not enemies. Not enemies. And so my promise to you is this. Our campaign will reach out to everyone, from red states to blue states, from the heartland to the coast, in rural, urban, suburban, and tribal communities. We are running a campaign on behalf of all Americans. We will govern on behalf of all Americans. And so, with Tim Walz by my side, and with all of you at our side, let us fight for the promise of our future. And with that, I ask Pennsylvania, are you ready to make your voices heard?
Pretty good. I think she did pretty well there.
Yeah, today marks...
I think she did pretty well.
And now, welcome the next Vice President of the United States, Tim Walz.
Voting for Jill Stein makes absolutely no difference. The only purpose to vote for Jill Stein... I mean, the Green Party is a fake party anyway, and not worthy of voting for. I wouldn't even vote for them. I'd probably vote for the PSL candidates. If I'm going to vote third party, I wouldn't vote for the Greens. Greens are worthless. They're woo-woo hippie libs, and they suck. And it's a pointless project of grifting. It's the same grifters over and over and over again. Why don't they try to run for Congress? Why don't they find the weakest Democrat in the bluest seat and try to organize? Like, do something. They're worthless.
Wow. Thank you, Philadelphia. Thank you, Madam Vice President, for the trust you put in me, but maybe more so, thank you for bringing back the joy. I'm thrilled to be on this journey with you and Doug, this incredible journey. And Pennsylvania, I know you know this. But my God, what a treasure you have in Josh Shapiro. Holy hell, can this guy bring the fire? He can bring the fire. This is a visionary leader. Also, I have to tell you, everybody in America knows when you need a bridge fixed, call that guy. And I think sometimes we forget, and you see people a little one-dimensional, but seeing a guy who cares so deeply about his family, a man with compassion, vision, and I'll have to tell you this, I know this from experience, there is no one you would rather go to a Springsteen concert in Jersey with than him. Than that
Jersey, boo.
guy. And I can't wait for all of you and America to get to know my incredible wife, Gwen, a 29-year public school educator. Don't ever underestimate teachers. And our two beautiful kids, Hope and Gus. I couldn't be prouder to be on this ticket and to help Vice President Harris become what we all know is very, very good for us to think about. Next President of the United States of America.
Voting is worthless anyway. Voting is, oh my God, how many times do I have to have this stupid fucking conversation of stupidity? The purpose of voting is to pick the candidate who will deliver the most concessions to your side. It's not the end all be all, but it is something that everybody, no matter how tangentially connected to politics, will pay attention to. The positions that are being held. Tim Walz is a far better person to hold vice president than J.D. Vance. It's not very complicated. They are spending billions upon billions of dollars because the American federal budget is trillions. Do you even understand what $1 trillion even means? It's incomprehensible, the amount of wealth and resources these people will be able to control. That is the purpose. Is it the end all be all? No. Is anybody even say it is? That's here. This is the Central Committee stream. Like, is anybody even here saying, oh, all you got to do is vote? Do you want me to just tell you that it's not true? Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
From her first day as a prosecutor, as a district attorney, Attorney General of the great state of California, a United States Senator, and Vice President of the United States. Vice President Harris has fought on the side of the American people. She took on the predators, she took on the fraudsters, she took down the transnational gangs, she stood up against powerful corporate interests, and she never hesitated to reach across the aisle if it meant improving people's lives. And I want all of you to hold this and don't ever underestimate the power of this. She does it all with a sense of joy. I know a little something about that commitment to people. I was born in West Point, Nebraska. I lived in Butte, a small town of 400, where community was a way of life. Growing up, I spent the summers working on the family farm. My mom and dad taught us, show generosity towards your neighbors and work for a common good. dad served in the Army during the Korean War, and with his encouragement, at 17, I joined the Army National Guard. For 24 years, I proudly wore the uniform of this nation. The National Guard gave me purpose. It gave me the strength of a shared commitment to something greater than ourselves. And just as it did for my dad and millions of others, the GI Bill gave me a shot at a college education. My dad was a teacher. My brothers and sisters and I followed in their footsteps. 3 out of 4 of us married teachers. What we do. For nearly 20 years, I had the privilege of teaching high school social studies and coaching football. Including winning that state championship. Thank you. Don't ever close the yearbook. Don't ever. But it was my students. They encouraged me to run for office. They saw in me what I was hoping to instill in them, a commitment of common good, a belief that one person can make a difference. So in 2006, I took a leap and I ran for Congress. And because high school teachers are super optimistic, I was running in a district that had 1 Democrat since 1892. Well, my neighbors graced me with an opportunity to represent them in the United States House of Representatives. I'm proud of the work we did there together. I worked across the aisle on veterans issues, on agriculture, and on ways to grow rural economies. I learned the art of compromise without compromising my values.
This is unreal. Oh, K Hivers from 2020. Chat, what have I told you about posting liberal tweets to me? All right, we have apparently a former student of Walz was interviewed.
And you are looking at new yearbook photos exclusively obtained by Outfront. Mr. Walz's students calling him the most inspiring faculty member. Outfront now a former student and linebacker for his football team, Daniel Clement. Dan, thanks so much for joining us. So you were around 16 when you first met, I guess you called him Mr. Walz. He was a social studies and geography teacher at the time. He was also your football coach. Here's a picture of you on the field with him. You're number 35. What should Americans know about Coach Walz?
Well, I think you guys got a great glimpse of that moments ago, and just his energy, his care, his integrity. Just a great overall human being. He's one of my favorite people in the world, so it's a real excitement for me to get here and talk about him today. So thanks for having me. I think VP Harris is very lucky to have him, just for the sheer fact that he's a great human and has everyone's best interest in heart. He truly, truly does, in my opinion.
What kind of impact did he have on your life?
Well, quite a profound impact, I'd say. There's no question in my mind I would not have finished high school without Coach Walz. Him and I had met at a pretty pivotal time in my life.
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
Where,
we know, Jesse.
As far as school is concerned, wasn't really attending class a whole lot. Was really ready to take the next step of just stop going to school. But Tim Walz, he took the time, he took the care, and he really pulled me aside often and really said,
hey, Macro Spaghetti, do you think an FDR-style landslide is coming? No, the conditions that made that landslide possible were based on a incumbent having the worst economic crash in world history and sitting around going, I can't do anything, you know? So I don't think we have the conditions for that, but I will say this. We're going to have a bruising campaign. We were always going to have a bruising campaign. But at least with Tim Walz, these Democrats are going to have to argue in favor of something. And that's all you can do is leave it all out on the field.
Dan, let's give this a shot, right? Let's keep coming. We need you here on the football team. And I really had never really had a attention or care from an adult teacher, male teacher, or a male role model at that time. So for him to take the time, a lot of time out of his day, to really show me the care that a young 16, 17-year-old boy, raised by a single mother, really needed.
So you credit him with your staying in school, and you credit him with presumably having a better life? Is that what I'm taking from your comments?
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, there's no question I probably wouldn't have finished high school. I wouldn't have finished high school. And without that, who knows where my trajectory would have gone. Through high school, I struggled with substances. He was able to really pull me through that and assure that I finished school. And then we were able to keep contact even after school. And recently now, since I moved back to Minnesota, it's been great. So he's been a great influence on my life. Again, one of my favorite people. So
that's pretty special. He and his wife, Gwen, have 2 kids, Gus and Hope. The governor posts a lot of social media videos with his daughter, Hope. I want to share this one from last fall at the Minnesota State Fair.
I think we're going to go do the slingshot.
Which I don't know what it is, and they're keeping it from me. But then we're going to go get some food. Corn dog.
I'm vegetarian.
Turkey then. And
Turkey's meat.
Not in Minnesota, turkey special. And we will go do some of those things and report back.
Oh my God!
It's pretty wild to see a vice presidential nominee doing an amusement park ride like that. What was he like in class? Was he funny? Was he goofy? Was he serious?
Well, I think he was a great blend of all those things. So for me, to keep my interest, he had high energy, right? Very funny, typically. But, when it came down to be serious, he had no problem going there too, right? He's the type of guy who's going to tell you what he needed to hear. I needed to hear it in football. I definitely needed to hear it in the classroom, right? So he really helped, again, pull me along there. I think he's just got all the right attributes, given the situation, given the circumstances, and he applies it well.
Dan Clement, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and your candor.
Did you see? Yeah, we read that political smack. I mean, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. This is exactly... See, this is why Tim Walz was... I was always a Walz warrior. Because, chat, for me, it's very simple. Do you pass policies that are good? If you do, I like you. And that has never led me astray. It has never led me astray. If somebody is passing good policies, there's somebody to support. If they talk a good game, I'm interested, but I'm not sold. And the thing about Tim Walz is, when he was given the power of the pen, he signed on the line that is dotted. He brought it home across the finish line. And now that he is the vice president because he was progressive on policies. Do you understand how this is a sea change? I think a lot of people are not getting it. Because a lot of you have bought into the nothing ever happens mentality of being I'm a cynical leftist. Nothing ever happens. Everybody's sold out. And that is what I call stupid cynicism. Cynicism that is about serving your own ego. Cynicism that is about protecting you from having your heart broken. Those people that talk like that and think like that are people who got into one relationship, got dumped, got their heart broken, and then swore off dating. I'm here to tell you something. Never give up vulnerability. Never give up willingness to trust people. Does that mean be a rube? Does that mean be a trusting moron? No. But don't sit in a little corner afraid to love because somebody hurt you. That is pathetic ass shit. That's loser shit. And if you live like that, you never will ever have the chance to achieve anything worthwhile. This is an anti-doomerism stream. This is an anti-doomerism. Socialism is anti-doomerism. If you're a socialist, you cannot be a doomer. You're not allowed. Go be a green or something. Go be the lib that you are. Doomerism, and I've said this before, doomerism is the final boss of your liberalism. Liberalism has a lot of techniques to keep you from fighting for change. The last and most advanced is the idea that nothing can change and it's pointless and it all doesn't matter and we're going to die and climate change is going to kill us or nuclear war is going to happen. Why even care? Why even fight? It's all over anyway. That is liberalism trying to keep you on the couch. Not in the J.D. Vance sense, but in the being lazy and doing nothing sense. All right, let's keep going. Oh yeah. Before we go back to the speech, I wanted to show you this clip about J.D. Vance got asked the most softball question of all time, and he fucking fumbled it, or he struck out. Keep the analogy consistent.
A little bit different here. You've been criticized as being a little too serious, maybe angry sometimes. What makes you smile? What makes you happy?
Well, I smile at a lot of things, including bogus questions from the media, man. I mean, look, I think if you watch a full speech that I give, I actually am having a good time out here and I'm enjoying this. But look, sometimes you got to take the good with the bad. And right now, I am angry.
A little bit different here.
Wow, this Kai Cenat story is, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's fucking embarrassing, dude. Shut the fuck up, man. Embarrassing, off-putting.
And now, as governor of the great state of Minnesota, I bring those experiences to bear in tackling the challenges that are facing our great state. Minnesota's strength comes from our values, our commitment to working together, to seeing past our differences, to always being willing to lend a helping hand. Those are the same values I learned on the family farm and tried to instill in my students. I took it to Congress and to the state capitol, and now Vice President Harris and I are running to take those very values to the White House. Now, Donald Trump sees the world a little differently than us. First of all, he doesn't know the first thing about service. He doesn't have time for it because he's too busy serving himself. Again and again and again, Trump weakens our economy to strengthen his own hand. He mocks our laws. He sows chaos and division. And that's to say nothing of his record as president. He froze in the face of the COVID crisis. He drove our economy into the ground. And make no mistake, violent crime was up under Donald Trump. That's not even counting the crimes he committed. You know, some of us are. Some of us in here are old enough to remember. I see you down there. I see those old white guys. Some of us are old enough to remember when it was Republicans who were talking about freedom. It turns out now what they meant was the government should be free to invade your doctor's office. In Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and their personal choices that they make. Even if we wouldn't make the same choice for ourselves, there's a golden rule. Mind your own damn business. These guys are after my heart chanting, mind your own damn business. That feels good, so thank you. Look, that includes IVF. And this gets personal for me and my family. When my wife and I decided to have children, we spent years going through infertility treatments. And I remember praying every night for a call for good news. The pit in my stomach when the phone rang, and the agony when we heard that the treatments hadn't worked. So it wasn't by chance that when we welcomed our daughter into the world, we named her Hope. When Vice President and I talk about freedom, we mean the freedom to make your own healthcare decisions. And for our children to be free to go to school without worrying they'll be shot dead in their classrooms. By the way, as you heard, I was one of the best shots in Congress, but in Minnesota, we believe in the Second Amendment, but we also believe in common sense gun violence laws. Vice President Harris' idea of freedom is a ticket for education to be that ticket to the middle class, not crippling debt. Air that's clean, water that's pure, communities that are safe.
Personally, I just want to say that anybody chanting "lock him up" is 100% correct. We should put fucking Donald Trump on Elba. We should have him surrounded by fucking a flotilla. If anybody tries to smuggle him out, they should be... Lock him up is not ick. Lock him up is based.
Place where
somebody said, what do you mean about Kai? I just think that anybody who's like, I don't care about politics is coping or is just being delusional. And I understand when you're young, it doesn't seem like it's relevant to you, but literally everything you do, whether you like it or not, is in a political context. And he's a black man on the internet. There's a lot of racists who want to shut him up because he's popular with young white kids and they want to stop that. They don't like race mixing. Those are the people that are represented by Donald Trump and his movement. Like, you can sit back and go, oh, it won't affect me because you're popular and you have a lot of money. But it's really disappointing and immature. Peter Thiel owns Kai Cenat's talent management. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
settle our political differences not through violence, but with our vote.
You'd lose the bet if we locked him up. No, the bet is that he will be locked up before the election, Lycus. If he's locked up after the election that he loses, that's exactly what I said would happen. If Donald Trump loses the election, they might send him to prison to get rid of him. But they're not going to send him to jail before the election when it would actually matter. So in other words, we're not going to defeat Donald Trump with the legal system. That was my analysis years ago. Years ago.
And that's what this election's...
Mike, I keep seeing people on Twitter show pictures of Tim Walz next to Israel Zionists. I mean, most of those pictures are from like 10 plus years ago. And yeah, I mean, you're not going to find a single politician that wasn't at least friendly with Israel until 2020. Okay? Like, you're literally, that's just a sign that you haven't been following politics for a while. The AIPAC lobby was incredibly powerful. The question you have to ask yourself is, what are these people saying now? That's what matters. And whether you like it or not, Tim Walz was one of the best politicians and best governors in America on the uncommitted issue. Period. Show me who's been better that was a governor on the uncommitted issue. So the question, so this is what we're looking for. We're looking for somebody who we could work with, who's not going to punch left, who's going to take these protesters seriously. We didn't have that with Joe Biden. That's why we have the genocide going on. And you could call that cope, and at this point, all it is cope. All it is hope.
It's about what direction will this country go in? He's not going back. Well, Donald Trump would damn sure take us backwards. Let's
by
be
the
clear
way,
about
Chad,
that.
this is an Israeli ambassador or Israeli agent trying to create the impression that, thank you, Governor Tim Walz, for standing with Israel during our darkest hour. Everybody did that. Nobody said, oh, wow, yeah, they should shoot more Israelis, civilians. Like, there isn't a single politician that was like, based, kill more civilians. Like, obviously not. Like, what the fuck is this even? This doesn't even mean anything. It means fucking nothing. Now, that being said, if he comes out there and says we should, Israel should always perpetually get unlimited funding and we shouldn't end the war, we should defeat Hamas, and that's the number one issue. I mean, and Joe Biden is right, well then obviously I'll give him the business.
And don't believe him when he plays dumb. He knows exactly what Project 2025 will do to restrict our freedoms. To rig the economy to help the super rich. If Trump gets a chance to return, he's going to pick up exactly where he left off 4 years ago. Only this time, it will be much, much worse. Raising costs on middle-class family. He will repeal the Affordable Care Act, no doubt about it. He'll gut Social Security and Medicare. And when somebody tells you, they believe him. He said he'd ban abortion across this country, and he'll do it, whether or not Congress is there or not. Donald Trump's not fighting for you or your family. He never sat at that kitchen table like the one I grew up at, wondering how we were going to pay the bills. He sat at his country club in Mar-a-Lago, wondering how he can cut taxes for his rich friends. And I got to tell you, his running mate shares his dangerous and backward agenda for this country. J.D. Vance literally literally wrote the foreword for the architect of the Project 2025 agenda. Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, JD studied at Yale, had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then wrote a bestseller trashing that community. Come on! That's not what middle America is. And I gotta tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy. That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So, you see what I did there?
What I want to see is Kamala's reaction. Hold on.
That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So, you see what I did there?
Her face. Her face.
Look.
I agree with you, James.
I got to tell you, pointing out just an observation of mine that I made. I just have to say it. You know it, you feel it. These guys are creepy, and yes, just weird as hell. That's what you see. That's what you see. So you know what's out there, so say it with me. We aren't going back. We aren't going back. We are not going back. So we got 91 days. My God, that's easy. We'll sleep when we're dead. Over those next 91 days and every day in the White House, I'll have Vice President Harris's back. Every single day. And we'll have yours. You know how this works. We can't do it alone. We need you, each and every one of you. Go over to KamalaHarris.com, get on board, because we need you. Freedom to make our own choices. This leader, this compassionate, careful, joyous leader believes in each and every one of you. My God, you came here tonight to sit at the very top because you love this country and you're not going back.
Now, by the way, chat, they posted a crowd size comparison between Trump for the same venue, Harris versus Trump. Trump had nobody in the upper balcony. Oof. 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 And you can see Harris is speaking and Trump is speaking, so it's the same time in the rally. Oof. His crowd size is small.
She believes in the opportunity for every single person to join the middle class.
Every time I'm at the urinal, you don't need to rub it in?
She believes in the promise of America. We just got to fight. We just got to fight. Because as soon-to-be President Harris says, when we fight, we win. Thank you, Philadelphia. Thank you, Vice President. God bless America.
All right. Not bad. Not bad. I think that those speeches did really, really well. I think those were good speeches. I think the main thing, and here's the reason. This is the reason, part of why I'm optimistic is the fact that Harris did pick Walz. That shows that she's at least aware of what the base wants, what people are criticizing, that Shapiro was untenable. Those are the realities. So that means to me, I think a lot of people, again, this is part of being cynically stupid, is they look at what's happening in Gaza and they say Harris wouldn't do anything different. And it's like any reasonable Democrat would do something different. And I know that's easy to say while it's not being, the policy isn't changed, but Joe Biden is a freak. He's the most right-wing president we've ever had on Israel, even worse than Trump. Trump was doing low-tier pandering shit. This is funding a genocide in the face of national protests. He is truly singular. Somebody said that Fain caught up. I wanted to show you that. Fain finally caught up with me. And by the way, this is definitely the most libbed up we're going to be. Probably for the year.